Hello, everyone. Welcome into the East AlabamaWorks Video Podcast. I'm Carl Brady, Program Manager for East AlabamaWorks. We are the Region 2 Workforce Council for the state of Alabama, covering 7 counties here in the East Alabama region, working daily with industry and business and education to try to strengthen Alabama's workforce and make sure that our economic and workforce development needs are all met by having a strong workforce for the industries in the state of Alabama. And my guest today is Tim McCartney. Tim is the chair of the Alabama Workforce Council, sort of the larger version of the regional workforce councils covering the entire state, and the folks that kind of give us our marching orders as to what we need to do in Region 2. Tim, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Carl. Pleasure to be here. Look forward to our talk.
Well, tell me a little bit, just for the folks who may be new to our workforce development setup here in the state of Alabama, just give me a little bit of an overview of the Alabama Workforce Council that you lead and what that's all about.
Okay, well, the Alabama Workforce Council consists of approximately 36 industry professionals, upper management mostly. And we also have a host of ex officio members, such as Fitzgerald Washington from the Department of Labor. Of course, Ed Castile is over the workforce development portion of the state. That's under the Commerce Department. Dr. Eric Mackey, who's the superintendent of the Alabama State Department of Education, is ex officio. Several others that we work together to primarily advise the governor and other members of the legislature on policy that would give the industry side of what needs to happen to improve our workforce in the state. So we're partners with everybody that wants to help improve the workforce. Frankly, the Regional Workforce Council started before the Alabama Workforce Council. The regional councils basically sort of led to the evolution of the workforce councils. I don't remember exactly when the regional workforce councils began. I know it was under Governor Riley. I was on the first Region 2, which back then was Region 5 because we had 10 regional workforce areas in the state. And then in 2014, Governor Bentley began the Alabama Workforce Council. I believe it was codified in 2015. And I was tapped to serve on that as well. And so here we are. I'm the second chairman of the Workforce Council. I've been the Workforce Council chair since 2018. And as I said, we work with anybody that will partner with us to improve our workforce in Alabama, and improve means we got to create more people. We've actually got more jobs listed right now that need to be filled than we have people that are unemployed. So there's plenty of jobs available out there. We just need the skilled workers to fill those jobs.
That's right. And one of the unique things about the Alabama Workforce Council and the regional councils is we are led by industry leaders. We're not led by the politicians or anybody like that. It's the industry leaders in the state of Alabama and in our communities who are saying to us what they need in that workforce.
Correct. And that's important because anybody that creates policy, if they don't have real world experience, sometimes what they create may be well-intentioned to improve a situation, but there's always unintended consequences. So it certainly helps to have people that are going to actually fulfill those goals from legislation to have an input into the process. Mm-hmm. So that's what we try to do.
And our real goal is working with these industry leaders, finding out what they need in their workforce, and then making sure that we're providing that workforce for them. We've done a great job here in Alabama of bringing in business and industry to the point, like you said, there are more jobs available than there are people who are qualified or credentialed to work those jobs. So now we're trying to get our workforce moving on up and getting better educated, getting better trained, getting those credentials, earning those credentials, and making sure that in the long term, we have plenty of people who are ready to go to work, qualified to go to work when these industries come to town.
That's correct. And you mentioned education. That is a big focus of the Workforce Council, is improving our state's education. As everybody probably knows by now, if you've been paying attention, Alabama is, unfortunately, we're last in math in this country. Actually, we're ranked number 52, which is, from those of you who remember, we have 50 states, but we're ranked 52 in math. And that's because of the Department of Defense has an education system, and Puerto Rico is included in those lists. So we've got to improve our education system and our educational results. That's not saying everybody's terrible in education or not. We have a lot of dedicated educators across the state that are working very, very hard to improve the results we've got. But we've had, we just have a lot of challenges for our state. And the Workforce Council is working really hard to help improve that. And, back when I started on the Region 5 at that time, which is now Region 2, Workforce Council, the Workforce Department was under the community college system. And they issued a request from all the workforce councils to list, and I believe it was the top 10 characteristics that that region wanted to see in a prospective employee. Well, we had several meetings about that in Region 5. And we came up with a list. Is really basically 4 requirements, 4 requests. And number one, we wanted to be able to have an employee, prospective employee, that could read. That's just vital. You've got to be able to read.
Right.
Number 2, we wanted them to have basic math skills, addition, multiplication, subtraction, division. We weren't asking for anybody with calculus or algebra skills, but just basic math skills. Number 3, we wanted them to be able to pass a drug test, because most employers today drug test their employees. And then as a 4th item, we just threw in there, it would be nice to have an employee with a valid driver's license. So we weren't, to us, that was not asking for much. Unfortunately, that's hard to find employees with those skills.
Right.
Prospective employees. So that all falls back to education. And the challenge is, we've got to have, if you can't read by the 3rd grade, the chance of you being very successful in the future are slim. Mm-hmm. So we've got the Literacy Act that the legislature is currently working on to get implementing. They've actually implemented it. They've delayed the test results for the last year or so. Part of that was for COVID, and very good reasons for delaying it. But we've got to get that in process and start looking at the test results, so we can basically, there's revision to hold students back if they can't read at grade level by 3rd grade. Now, that holding students back poses a lot of challenges. I don't have the answer for that. That's what the education department folks do. That's what the legislature works on. But we certainly support, from a Workforce Council standpoint, very robust reading system for our children. As they say, up until grade 3, you're learning to read, and after grade 3, you're reading to learn. So If you can't read, you're just at a huge deficit. And and it gets worse every year if you can't read. Mm-hmm. So we're very active in the education process. We're actually the chairman of the Human Capital Development Committee for the AWC is a man named Alan Harris, and he runs a building construction company out of Opelika that they do buildings all over the state. And he and I are working to meet with every state board of education member within the next month. I think tomorrow we have our fifth member that we'll be interviewing. And it's mainly to be sure that we're all on the same page, that we made a presentation to the board back in November, and we had Alan, myself, and we had 4 other people from across the state that are also workforce council members, just updating the board on why it's so important that we improve our education system. We've got to have it for employees. And we just, we're working with them to make some improvements, and we're making some suggestions from an industry viewpoint on how to do that. We're not educators. We're not telling them how to do the job, but there's just some simple things just from an observation from outside looking in, some simple things to make some improvements. And we've got a list of 10 points we've provided them. And Dr. Mackey has, we of course talked to him first, and we had some negotiations and good talk, and we've come up with these 10 points, and we'll have 10 more points next year if they get them all solved this year. So it's a continuing, it's just like in industry, you've got to continually improve. You never sit back and say, well, we're golden, because there's always somebody out there working, nipping at your heels to be sure that, there's competition out there. So
yeah,
that's our big focus right now.
When we talk about education and workforce development, we talk about all gamuts of education, from early childhood and elementary, middle school, high school, post-secondary. And we are not promoting, you hear us talking a lot about skills training, but we're not promoting one area over another. We want our kids to leave high school career and college and career ready, so they can go on to college and university and be successful there. But if that's not their choice, we want them to have plenty of career training so that they can be successful there as well. And we're still fighting here, even in 2021, about to go into 2022, that mindset that something about career training is less than going to a university. And we were still fighting that fight, and we need people to understand that career training is a vital part of our education system. And it would even be good for kids to graduate from high school with a little bit of college preparation and career preparation, so that if they go to college and that doesn't work out for them, well, they've got some career ideas that they can already fall back on. And because we need those skilled workers, we have a huge deficit in Alabama and around the country in skilled workers. So like I said, when we're talking about education, we're talking about all types of education as equally important to the state of Alabama.
Absolutely, Carl, you're right. And we've got to get rid of that notion that if you don't have a 4-year degree, you're somehow failed in life, because that's just absolutely not true. Now, I grew up with my parents sort of giving that message, and I look back, since I've been working on this workforce thing, and I'm sorry I didn't bring the name because I forgot it, but there was a book published in the early 70s that basically spouted that viewpoint that everyone has to have a 4-year education, and it's just not true. Give you a little story that sort of how I grew up is a good friend of mine who was a year ahead of me in school. He graduated from high school, and he visited my father, who ran our company, our family construction company, and said, I want to come in and learn how to do what y'all do. I want to be a manager at this company one day. And he said, my father knew the guy because we'd gone to school together. He said, no, you need to go to college. And he said, no, sir, I don't have any interest in going to college. I want to go out into the workforce and do something with my hands. And my father just said, no, you need to go to college. Well, the young man left, and he went over, I believe he went to the local bricklayers union, and he signed up as an apprentice. And today, that guy, and this is, it's been almost, believe it or not, almost 50 years since that happened. But this guy is one of the best bricklayers around this county, and he can pick and choose what jobs he wants. He hunts and fishes because he's an avid sportsman. He lives a fantastic lifestyle. And I keep bringing that up to my father. You remember you told him he had to go to college? I said, he's got a really good life. I envy him for all the free time he has to do what he really enjoys in life. Because we got to remember, we want to do something for make a living doing something we love. That's great. But we also have to work in order to survive. But isn't it nice to have a job that you just can pick and choose when you work, you love what you do, and then the rest of the time you can do your other hobbies and stuff you enjoy. So that's been always a big sign to me. It's like, this 4-year college thing, unless you're really set out for it, or, you're looking to be a doctor or a lawyer or accountant, or you're really good in some of the liberal arts field that you can be teaching. And we need, passionate educators out there. But college just isn't for everyone. Now, another confession is I sort of adopted what my father-in-law said. He always had he did not finish college. He went to work. But he always said he would, and he had 2 daughters that he did send to college and paid their way for. But he said, if you go to college, you better get a certificate in something that'll get you a job. And I went by that theory. I thought that was a good theory. And I've learned that you have to adjust. You have to adapt. Because I have 4 children, and I have 2 of my children went to engineering school. One was an accounting and finance major. But my youngest is in the arts field, and she's a very good artist, and she's going to graduate in the spring and go into script writing and something in the movie field, something that's totally foreign to me because I'm an engineer as well. So I it's going to be interesting to see how all that works out. But she's very passionate about it, and she has a very good work ethic because she's worked throughout her career, in her academic career. She's always worked. And so we'll see how that works. But going back to the CTE programs, that is vital that we get the CTE programs, teaching these kids that want to learn skills with their hands. And we've got to get them all aligned. One of the issues we have right now is if we don't have some of the skills they're teaching in schools that are not necessarily aligned with the in-demand, high-wage jobs for the regions. So that's a process. As you know, the state has, the education part has college and career-ready standards. And right now we have a big gap in between those that are graduating high school. We have, I think, is about an 18% gap between high school graduates and those that have a college and career-ready standard. So part of that is misalignment, and part of it is we're just not doing a good job at that. But we've got to get that gap closed, because to me, it just makes common sense. If you graduate high school and you are not capable of going to college and you have no employability skills, then what good was it for the last 13 years of your educational process? So you've basically got 3 choices, 3 good choices when you graduate high school, and that is you can go into the military services, which is a great profession. You can further your career, your educational career, by going to a 2-year or a 4-year college, or you go directly to work. So what the Workforce Council is constantly preaching is let's graduate kids that have the potential to do one or all of those three pathways. So we've got to improve that. We're working to do that.
Yeah, the end result of education is not just to pass the test at the end of the semester. The end result of education is providing someone with the ability to have a career, have a job, have a way to support a family once they leave that education system. So that's what we've got to work on. We got to make sure that everybody who leaves our education system has everything they need, has all the tools that they need to get on with their life in a very successful way, that they can support a family and be productive in their career. And there are a lot of things going on that have started to come to fruition in 2021. We've been planning things for years. We've been making steps for years, but our workforce development system here in the state of Alabama has identified a lot of needs. We've identified a lot of barriers, and we're working on ways to address all of those issues. So we've come up with things like the Alabama Credential Registry, so that you can, if you are in 8th grade or 9th grade or wherever you are in your education pathway, and you have an idea of what you would like to do in the future, we can give you a pathway to get there. And so, what kind of credentials do you need for that job? What kind of pathway with the skills-based job description generators, or the college and career exploration tool that we're calling Asset? There's so many things that we're putting into place that future generations, and hopefully really soon future generations, are going to have a multitude of tools to help them get to their goals and reach their goals in a much more linear fashion than instead of bouncing all over the place until they just finally land on something that they're happy with.
Correct. And you've hit on three of the, well, I think you hit on two of them, but basically what we're working on is supporting the Governor's Office of Education and Workforce Transformation, who is Nick Moore, who's, and the GOEWT is, we call him the GOAT. So, but obviously we misspelled it. So that's sort of in line with where we are. But there is what we're calling the Alabama's Talent Triad that we're focusing on. And you mentioned the Alabama Credential Registry, which is basically a database of transparent credentials denoting masteries of skills that's going to be in a database. And those are going to be in the in-demand high-wage jobs. And there's a process for determining what those are, and it's an annual process. And I won't go into all the details, but there is a legitimate, methodical process you go to get those credentials into the registry. Second part is the Alabama Skills-Based Job Description Generator and Employer Portal. Now, I know that's a mouthful to say, but basically that is a place where customized job descriptions that employers will create that will list credentials needed and competencies needed to fulfill a job that they're looking to fill. That will be online. So you have those two, the credential registry and the skills-based job description generator. And then third is the Alabama College and Career Exploration tool, which is, short, the acronym is ACCET, ACCET. And basically what that is it's a host of information that will be there. But the bottom line is a prospective employee looking for a job can go on the ACCET, list their resume, but it'll be a verified resume. So if they list a bunch of credentials that they possess, it'll be matched against the credential registry, which will know whether that person has actually got a registered credential. So it's very important that we get all of our credentials registered. And then you post a resume there, it verifies, yep, what this person stands right. It matches that person's competencies and credentials to jobs that are posted online by employers. It matches employers and employees. Of course, it doesn't mean that person has to go to work there, but it just gives them an idea of what jobs are available in the field they're looking for. And those three, the credential registry actually launched back in September of this year. The job description generator and the asset tool will be launched sometime in 2022. Now, that's going to be a terrific toolbox to be used to help match employers to employees. And frankly, it's the first of its kind in the country. Now, that's great, sort of great to have that reputation being first, but we've got to follow through and make these things work. We've got to get our population trained up. We've got to improve their education. We've got to let them understand there are also just a tremendous amount of opportunities out there. You don't have to go anywhere to get a job outside of Alabama. There are plenty of opportunities. As I said, there's twice as many jobs available right now than we have people on the listed as unemployed in our state. So it's a matching process, and it's not a quick fix, and nothing really in life that's worthwhile is a quick fix. So we just got to stick our nose to the grindstone and keep pushing through this. But state of Alabama and the state of Indiana have been listed in numerous magazines talking about we're leading the pack in these type of issues. So that's great to know, but to me, it's going to mean more when we have those jobs filled and less people sitting on the sideline that aren't employed.
Right.
Rising tide lifts all boats, as they say.
Yeah, and there's so many things that we could be talking about. We could probably spend a couple of hours here talking about all the different things. You know, our November unemployment rate just came out. We held steady at 3.1%, but the unemployment rate, as we know, doesn't tell the whole story. We're really concerned about our participation rate. Our participation rate was at 56.8%, and our labor participation rate. That means almost half of the people in the state of Alabama who should be out working are not working, and they're not even looking for a job, so they're not even considered part of the unemployed. So those are the issues that we've got to address and we've got to work on. And, you know, I think a big part of, I tell people a big part of what our job is on the regional level is just communicating information, getting information out there and letting the public know, letting our policymakers know, and letting people know what the needs are and how to get there. We can talk about all of these education programs and all of the different things that we have, all of the tools that we have for them. But until we get the word out and to help people to understand them, and if we want to, there are so many opportunities for people to upskill. If you are underemployed and you would like to do better, well, we've got benefit cliffs we've got to deal with. Then we've got, okay, who's going to pay for that education, or who's going to buy the groceries for my family while I go get my education? You know, there's so many issues, but we are looking at all of those things, and we've got things like David and We Can and other things that are in the process as well, so that we can address all of those issues in a holistic way.
That's right. And one of the things, and it just struck me while you were talking, one of the things that we helped get passed last year through the education program, I mean, the K through 12, is they made it mandatory that all graduating seniors in high school will complete the FAFSA form, which is the federal aid for education. We left as a state, I believe it was $60 million on the table.
Wow.
Last year, and simply for the fact that people are not filling out the FAFSA form. Well, now it's a requirement to graduate high school. That's going to put a lot of money in a lot of students' hands who couldn't ordinarily pay on their own for further education past high school. That's really important. And it's not, and I'm a fiscal conservative. I don't like to spend any money that's not necessary. So leaving $60 million on the table, just really drives me crazy, because that's $60 million that's going to be spent somewhere else. It's not like it's going in the bank. If you don't spend it, it'll go to another state. So we're letting other states' citizens be trained on money that we should be spending here. So that's very important. And we're going to work this forthcoming year to get the public aware of that new. It's not that new. It's been in effect since last school year. But a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people, everybody's busy. They don't know all what's going on. I wouldn't have known it I'm retired, so I'm doing this. That's pretty much my number one thing I'm doing right now. So I know a lot more about this than I would have had I been working full time. So our job is we've got to get the information out to let people know what's available and what programs are available. You mentioned David. David's all about benefit cliffs. And to tell you the truth, I didn't know what a benefit cliff was until about 2 years ago. But basically, in layman's term, a benefit cliff is for someone that's on government assistance and they're unemployed. If they're going into the employment, there's a lot of people will make less money as they first start back in the employment. So that's the cliff. You've got, let's just make up a number. Say you're on benefits from the government that are giving you $30,000 a year in benefits. And then you go to work, but you don't have the skills necessarily to start at a rate that'll give you more than enough to cover the gap between that aid you're getting from the government. So it costs you money to go to work. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to provide good information for people looking so they won't have those cliffs, ultimately.
And change those cliffs into gentle slopes so that if someone's getting a housing subsidy, they don't lose that subsidy as soon as they get a $13 an hour job or a raise to $15 an hour, because you can't make that sudden adjustment. So if we turn that cliff into a slope, then maybe they will go and they'll get a job and they'll improve their training and increase their training. And as their pay rate goes up, then their subsidies or things like that slowly go down so that they can make those transitions easier.
Exactly. And it's right now the incentives are backwards. We're incentivizing people to not go to work. We need to change that formula and get them incentivized to go to work, but provide them helpers to go. You just can't cut somebody off completely from help. And we're only as strong, as the saying goes, we're only as strong as our weakest link. So we've got to help those on the bottom move their way up the ladder, and it'll help us all as a state. So
we're running.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we're running out of time here, and I don't want to take any more time of yours than necessary. I know how busy you are, but give us a look ahead at 2022. We've had a very successful and busy 2021, getting things on rolling. In 2022, what are you hoping to see as the chairman of the Alabama Workforce Council? What are you hoping to see us accomplish in the new year?
Well, we've sort of talked about all of them already, but number one, we want our K through 12 10-point plan implemented. We're working with the Department of Education to get that done. We're working, trying to make better teamwork between us and them. Also the Alabama Talent Triad, that should come into fruition and we should all hit the ground running once the skills-based job description generator and the asset program come online. As I said, Alabama Credential Registry is already there. That's going to help Alabama citizens get to work. You mentioned the We Can directory, which is basically an asset listing of all services in a region that are available to help people that are out of work or in need of skills improvement. So that's a program that will come online sometime in 2022. The David program, which we just talked about, that's available now. We just need to improve the awareness of the public. It's available. And one of our, human capital development committee is working on that with the K through 12 now. We're working with our outreach and engagement committee about awareness, these 10 points from education, awareness about the FAFSA program, and get people to understand that, and the Alabama Talent Triad. So that's the big things we're working at. And just for everybody in the region listening, if you need a speaker, we've got people in each region of the state that are available to come talk. So please reach out to us and let us know. Also, remember the AlabamaWorks.com website has a host of information that's available. One of the things that we at our webinar, we do a monthly webinar. We did it this morning right before I came on with Carl. Mm-hmm. And Robin McGill of the Alabama Commission on Higher Education made a presentation about the regional profiles for each of our 7 workforce regions. And Carl, as you know, I made a short presentation last week that included some of the information on the profile. Mm-hmm. But that profile is invaluable information, and it's updated every year. But it gives you information about what's going on in each region. It shows the immigration from people into the region, what their skill sets are. It shows how many people are going out of the regions, and it gives you a net either increase or decrease in your population and what type of people are coming into your area. So, and just a host of other information there. So that's important. So go to AlabamaWorks.com. That link's on there to get to those regional profiles. And I think it'll help everybody understand where we are in a better way. So really awareness, we want to help people be aware of what is going on, because there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes that can help our public and help our citizens get improvement in their jobs, skills, and career pathways. So that's a lot in itself, but we're here to help. We're not here to hinder. We're not here to do anything but improve the state situation, and also to fulfill the Governor Ivey's goal of creating 500,000 skilled, credentialed, and degree employee and potential employees by the year 2025. So we've got a ways to go, but we're working on it.
We're working on it. And then our regional website for folks in Region 2 is eastalabamaworks.com. And you could get in touch with me or Abby Howell or our director, Lisa Morales. And we're always willing and able to come out and speak or meet with you and meet with folks to talk about workforce needs anywhere throughout the regions. Well, Tim, thank you so much for taking a little time with us this morning to talk about these things. And we'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
All right, Carl. Well, thank you, and thank the whole, Lisa and Abby and you for all the work you do in Region 2. Y'all do a great job, and I appreciate being partners with y'all. And I hope everybody has a good holiday and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you very much, Tim. And folks, thank you for tuning in and watching the East Alabama Works Video Podcast. We'll see you next time.